Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dinozor Gaming, where we learn to be a better player. We are now into week number 3 of the spoiler season of Secrets of Power, and there's not long left for the set to come out. And this week we got some very spicy cards, some pretty unique leaders, some very strong legendaries. So let's jump in and check them out. Starting of course with the leaders. The first one we have is Mon Mothma, who says ignore the aspect penalties on non-villainy official units you play. That was an effect we've seen before in Hera, in Nala Se, and it is a very fun ability to play with, but neither one of those other leaders have had any competitive success. That said, official is a much more common trait than Spectre or Clone, especially considering most of the units, well, maybe not most, but a lot of the units this set are official, and this is the official set. So it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on what units come out. You're always going to have to look at them through the lens of can Mon Mothma abuse this? That said, the non-villainy requirement is a little taxing. You lose about half of the units, if maybe a bit less. But if you take a look at the officials that we have so far that are valid with Mon Mothma, most of them are already green. Most of them are already in command, so you're not really utilizing that ability just the right way. So it's going to depend entirely on what new cards get revealed here. I think at the moment, with what information we have, Mon Mothma's ability is just not good enough, but it'll only take 1 or 2 really good cards to be able to be played out of aspect to make her really good, especially because she deploys on 5 as a 3/7. That is prime stats. The best leaders we've had have these stat lines. And on top of that, having the Republic and official trait is fantastic. And if that wasn't enough, she has the Anthem ability of each friendly official unit gets +0, +1. We've seen that already in Rex, and while we saw how sturdy Rex's boards can become, but Rex had a very low stat line. He himself was a 2/6, so having the better stats alongside an Anthem that can make a lot of your other officials very hard to kill is going to make Mon Mothma a very important leader, because now going forward, any official that gets revealed, we're going to have to think about her. Next up, we have Leia Organa, who says action, pay 1, disclose any aspect other than villainy. And if you do, give an experience token to a unit that doesn't share an aspect with the disclosed card. So notably to remember that it doesn't matter if you're disclosing aggression. If the card that you reveal is aggression heroism, you cannot give that experience to a heroism unit whatsoever. And that itself is very limiting. A lot of the really strong cards are dual aspect, and most of the time they will have villainy or heroism. So you need to try and disclose something that doesn't have that sub-heroism thing. That said, she does flip on 6 with the on attack of the same effect as a 4/7. This is very reminiscent of Snoke from last set. Same stats, very similar ability. And notably, you can give the experience token to Leia if you disclose something else. Now, in Premium, it is not often that you will have an extra aspect in your hand to disclose. If you're playing, for example, a Vigilance aggression deck, most of your cards will be Vigilance or aggression. It's not likely for you to be holding a Cunning card just for this effect. But there is definitely a possibility that such a card does come out, a Cunning card that maybe says you can use this in a Vigilance deck. Stuff like that could make Leia very good. But outside of that, I think in Premier, it is a very limiting ability. Whereas in Limited, it is a lot better. Because in Limited, most of the time, your entire deck isn't amazing. You have a lot of cards that are suboptimal. So it's okay to hold that extra aggression card that you don't care about. Just keep it in your hand and disclose it every single turn. And at that point, you're just a pay 1, give an experience token to a unit of your choice, which is very strong. And in Limited, most of those experienced leaders tend to be one of the strongest ones. So Leia is going to be a powerhouse in Sealed and Draft, but maybe not so great in Premier. Last leader we're going to look at here is going to be Governor Price, who says action, pay 1, and ready a token unit. That is very interesting, because most of the time your token units are not good. You don't want to pay 1 to ready them. If you're playing in the villainy side, likely the tokens you have to work with are going to be either droids or TIE fighters, which are both 1/1s, or more realistically in this set, it's going to be spy tokens, which are 0-2, rate 2. Right? Do you want to be paying 1 to re-readying a spy token? is debatable. That said, that is the only constraint. So if you somehow buff up that spy to being a massive 10/10, then you can constantly be paying 1 to ready it. And by constantly at that point, I mean you do it a single time, you'll win the game, right? So there is some potential here if there is a way to make token units stronger, for sure. But at its core, from what we know so far, she doesn't quite have that threatening leader ability. However, she does flip on 6 as a 4/6, not the stat line you want. Imperial Official, this unit gets +1/+0 for each ready friendly token unit. Why ready? If this would she have been broken if she got the power gain, even if your spy tokens were exhausted? On attack, create a spy token, and you would think that on attack, because the new spy token is being created, she would get that extra power, but no, she doesn't, because that token is coming in exhausted and not ready. I think there's just a lot of safety with this leader. They tried to play it extra safe. They didn't want to take a risk, and I think just because of that, the power level is just far too low compared to all of the other options that we have. I don't think she's just going to be good enough to be played. Moving into the units here, we have Cassian Andor, 2-cost Vigilance Heroism, 2/2 Fringe. And while this unit is defending, the attacker gets -2/-0. If an enemy card ability would deal damage to this unit, prevent 2 of that damage. This is a legendary, and boy, this is a good card. It is a 2/2. Normally you would expect that not to be a good card, but this essentially reads armor 2. We saw how good Boba's armor was, to the point where it is the straw that broke the camel's back in banning Boba Fett, and this is the same thing in a unit. Yes, it is a very low statted unit, but that's not always a hindrance. If you play this in Rey, for example, you get to buff it up. If you play any upgrade whatsoever on this, if you think about it, the only way for your opponent to deal with this is with something that has 4 attack or more. If they're trying to use something like Quinlan Ping, it'll do 0 damage. If you're playing this against Cat Bane, you essentially nullify their entire leader ability. Anything that deals 3 damage or less is worthless. So they need to immediately deal 4 damage to this, or use something that can actually kill this outright, like Takedown, or any negative stat effects. This is not by any means unkillable. It is just very difficult to deal with for some decks. So I think this is a fantastic 2-cost and a great way to have a legendary card. It is not going to be an auto include in every single blue heroism deck, but it is going to be a strong consideration for a lot of them. If your deck is weak against Cat Bane, for example, definitely a legendary that you're going to want to pick up 3 copies of as soon as possible. Next up, we have Populous Champion, 3-cost, 3/5, no text. Decent. It'll be amazing in draft. That's a stat line you want in your 3-costs. Not much else to say. It is official, so that's interesting. Next, we have Senator Chuchi, 3-cost, blue-white, 2/5, restore 1 on attack, give another friendly official unit, restore 2 for this phase. So, I mean, look, we just saw a 3-cost 3/5. Would you trade 1 power to get essentially restore 3, so to speak? Maybe. Some decks will want this, some decks won't. Realistically, I think this is just going to be a draft and sealed card. Moving on, we have Rotunda Senate Guards, a 4-cost Vigilance card that's 4/5. While this unit is undamaged, it gains Sentinel. Not playable. It's a cute little Sentinel for limited. Move on. Next up, we have Congress of Malastare, 5-cost Vigilance, 5/5, Republic official, that says the first upgrade you play each phase costs 1 less. Now, this is an interesting card, but not for the reason you think. I think this is the perfect example of a noob trap card, because some people will look at this and be like, wow, that is a great effect. I can't wait to play this, get that discount, play a bounty for free maybe. But the real problem is that we just saw 2 other cards at 3-cost that have 5 health, right? 3/5s is pretty much the norm for a 3-cost, and sometimes your 4-costs will have that as well, especially if they have a good upside like Ahsoka or Chirrut. But on your 5-costs, 5 health is just not enough. Right? Most of the good 5-costs that are being played either have an immediate impact on the board, or they're even more healthy, right? You have Poe Dameron at 6/6, and that difference between that 5 and 6 is huge. If your opponent knows that they need to deal with 3 costs at 5 health, then of course they can deal with a 5 cost at 5 health. And on top of that, that extra 2 power is not always a good thing. This then puts it into range for Fel the Dragon. I think this card needed a ridiculous effect in order to be played at these stat lines, and unfortunately that seems to be true for a lot of the cards. So this is just pure limited fodder. Next up, we have Alderanian Envoys. 3/7 for 6 as a Vigilance with Restore 3. Cute card. It's gonna stall for you in limited. Won't see a day of play in sealed. In Premier. Wow. Moving on, we have Lando Calrissian, another legendary. 7 cost Vigilance, 6/8 Grit. When played, you may choose an enemy unit and another friendly non-leader unit. If you do, heal 6 from your base, and the enemy unit captures the friendly unit. I know a lot of people, when they first saw this, including myself, misread this, thinking that it's going to be capturing an opponent's unit and healing your base and having a great body, and this would have been an amazing legendary, borderline auto-include. But the fact that when you play this, you're essentially giving one of your units to your opponent, albeit potentially temporarily, in order to heal 6 from your base. This is a very interesting card. It has a lot of niche uses. First of all, giving access to that much healing in a single card is very good. Redemption does see some play in decks that want to heal, but less so because it is a heroism card. On the villainy side, Vigilance has a lot of control tools, but very limited healing, so this is good. If you do have another unit in play, it's okay to sometimes just give it up for a bit and then heal your base, and the next turn Lando can just attack into what captured your unit and get your unit back, right? And on top of that, it has some very niche interactions that could come up, like you can give your opponent one of your units captured, that way you become, so to speak, immune from Super Laser Blast. If they blast the board, you get one of your units back, so they didn't actually clear it. Or alternatively, if you have a unit that's injured and you want to heal it back up, that could work as well. I think this card is going to be broken in some decks that are able to manipulate it to their benefit, but it is once again a very niche card, and that is perfect for a legendary. You do not want legendaries to be auto-includes. That makes them very expensive, but this is a good legendary nonetheless. Next up, we have Hyperspace Disaster, 7 cost, defeat all space units. It is a Super Laser Blast, but just for space. Decent card. I honestly almost exclusively a sideboard card, and in the matchups that you do want it, you can just pull it out from your sideboard and play it. This will see some play for sure. If the meta continues to be heavy space, if you're up against Piets or Boba Data Vaults, you're going to side this in, because why wouldn't you? The very interesting note about this card is that at 7, if you are able to wrap this up, if you're playing a blue-green villainy deck, for example, if you ramp up, this comes out on the exact same turn as the big pilot leaders that flip. So if your opponent's Vader or Luke decide to flip, you get to immediately answer with Hyperspace Disaster and clear their entire board and ruin their day. Moving into command here, we have Corporate Warmongering. That says 4 cost command villainy, give a friendly unit +3/+3 for this phase, give each other friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase. Yet another buff card. We've seen plenty of these. None of them have seen a second of competitive play. It'll be interesting in limited just because sometimes it'll help you close out a game, but no chance to see any play in Premier. Next up, we have Chancellor Valorum. 5 costs, double command. It's been a minute since we haven't seen any double aspect units. 3/7, Republic official. When this unit completes an attack, you may disclose triple command. If you do, put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. This is incredible. This is one of the best double aspect cards they have released since the start of the game. It is competing with some of those legendaries like Aggression and Command and whatever because of what it does. It does exactly what Command wants to do. It does it at the cost that it wants to do it, and it has a great stat line to survive a lot of the removal that's out there. Think about the scenario where you're playing ramp, right? Let's say you're playing double command. You're playing double green, you're Palpatine or Snoke. On turn 2, normally you want to resupply or Super Laser Technician. And then on turn 3, when you normally would have had 4, you have 5, you drop this. There is borderline nothing that can come out from your opponent's hand and deal with this easily, unless they, of course, have a ton of units in play that they want to just smack into this. But if they do, they just gave you back control of the board. 3/7 will kill almost anything that came before it or injure it to the point of easily being cleaned up. And if they don't deal with this, which is very likely, you just attack and get another ramp. Next turn, you're at 7. And 7 is where command wants to be. That's where your Vaders come down. That's where your Mauls come down. I think this card is going to be an absolute staple in any deck that tries to go double command. And honestly, this might bring double command back. Next up, we have Wutun Pala. There's no chance I said that right. 9 cost command. 9. Let's hope this is good, right? 7/7 Separatist Vehicle Capital Ship. Dooku and Piet are awake. So this unit costs 1 less to play for each friendly droid unit. And then when he is in play, each friendly droid unit may be exhausted to pay cost as if it were a resource. This is interesting because anytime you can discount stuff, there's a way to abuse it. And this is no different. But let's look at the best case scenario that you would use this, right? Let's say turn 1, you do droid deployment. Now you have 2 droids. And then the following turn, maybe you do another droid deployment. Now you're at 4 droids. So now this costs 5. You're at 4 resources. That is unfortunate. So it's not likely for you to cheese this out super early, but you don't always need to. If you bring this out on turn 5, let's say, which is very feasible, that just means that you have like 3 droids in play. Turn 5, you'll have 6 mana, 6 resource. And then at that point, it is a 7/7 that your opponent needs to deal with immediately. Because if they don't, each of your droids become another resource. That means next turn you can play something that costs 9 or 10, depending on whatever droids you have. It is interesting. It is, once again, a very specialized legendary, and that is what you want your legendaries to be. Very cute card. There might be 1 or 2 decks that are able to abuse this, but I don't expect this to be a staple that you see all the time. Moving into aggression here, we have Enforcer Squadron, 4 cost aggression villainy, 5/3 hidden in space. Honestly, decent card. That hidden and that 3 health go very well together. Most of the time, there isn't too much removal that comes in from hand to deal with space units. People often rely on having their own space units or using some kind of ambush like Blue Leader, for example, and you can't really hit this with that, at least not on the turn it's played. It's going to be a very good card that you're going to see a lot of in your pre-releases and your drafts, just because, first of all, it's common. It is very high statted. That 5 attack is going to help you close out games very quickly. Just a great card. I highly doubt we'll see this in Premiere. Next up, we have Hondo Onaka Aggression Villainy, 6/5 Underworld, and each other friendly unit gains raid 1. Not the best stat line, not the best effect, but it is plot. So that could be absolutely interesting. Plot always makes cards worth checking out. It essentially reads, draw a card when you play it. In some decks, this will be popping off. If you're playing Cad Bane, for example, you get to do this on the same time that you flip Cad Bane. He is Underworld, so he will trigger Cad Bane as well. So I guess, yeah, you get to flip your Cad Bane, bring this out, deal that 2 damage to one of your opponent's units, and then Cad Bane now has raid 3 instead of raid 2. It's okay. It's interesting. It'll be great just due to its stat line in Limited, but I don't think you'll see much of this in Premiere. Moving on, we have the Galleon, 7 cost aggression villainy, 6/6. When played, you may disclose. Double red villainy. If you do, create 3 spy tokens. Thank God this is not a capital ship. I mean, we've already seen how good Invisible Hand is, at least the green 6/6 version, because something that is able to just spew stuff out on the board is always going to be good. Not only does it make you strong against like Power of the Dark Side, but it's very hard in this game to deal with multiple bodies. Our options for AoE, so to speak, are very limited. So if you are able to disclose this, which is not too difficult, it's essentially 2 cards from your hand, you're putting 4 bodies into play in a single action. I think just because of that, this is a very, very good card, and I would not be surprised to see this have a fair bit of play in every single format of the game. Next up, we have Tempest Assault, 4 cost aggression villainy. If you've dealt damage to an enemy base this phase, Deal 2 damage to each enemy space unit. I mean, for 1 cost less than Bombing Run, you get to deal 1 less damage only to space units, and you need to have dealt damage to a base. There are so many conditions here. Nah. I mean, look, if you absolutely hate space decks, you can play this, but that 2 damage, is that going to be enough? Unlikely. The very interesting thing about this, I guess, is that if you play this with Topple the Summit that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, you get to soften up some of their space units so that the next turn, if your leader flips at 5, then Topple the Summit can come in and clean them up. Or you can just play that from your hand, of course. But that is a 2-turn, 9-mana combo just to deal with some space units. I don't, nah. Next up, we have that is not how you write Alexander, sir. Callus. Aggression, Heroism, 6/6, Rebel, Spectre. Okay, while you have the initiative, each other friendly unique unit gains Raid 2. That's pretty good. When played, would deal 2 damage to each of up to 3 ground units. That is very good. Everybody discounted the Sun when it was revealed initially, and we did see a fair bit of decks play the Sun just because that extra 2 power really helps you close out the game, and this is going to be no different. The main downside of this card is going to be his own stats. 6/6 is good for a 5 cost. It's bad for a 6 cost. It is absolute garbage for a 7. That said, his when played does sort of make up for it. We did just mention that it is very hard to deal AoE area damage, essentially, and a way to deal with multiple small creatures at the same time. There isn't too much in the game, but they're adding more and more, and this is a prime example. You can kill 3 spy tokens with this, and if you do, this card has already paid its worth in resources, and then at that point, the extra body that it's leaving behind is just icing on top of the cake, right? I think this is a very good card, and it will see some play. The main issue is going to be its cost. It is competing with a lot of really strong 7 costs, like Luke Skywalker, like Han Solo, Mace Windu. So I think this is one of those cards that might shine post-rotation. Next up, we have Ambition's Reward. 2 cost, 1/1 upgrade. When played, create a spy token. If we bundle that up together, that essentially says 2 cost, 1/3 raid, I guess. Well, 1/3 raid 2. I don't even think you would play that, maybe. But I mean, as an upgrade, the fact that you cannot play this on the first turn unless you have a 0 cost Porg in your hand, that alone is going to just make this not good. Moving on, we have Unauthorized Investigation. 3 costs, create a spy token. You may disclose red. If you do, create another spy token. We've said countless times that spy tokens are not worth a whole resource. Often they're worth maybe half a resource. If you want to stretch it and say it's worth 1 resource, then this should have cost 2, right? Because paying 3 to get 1.5 or 2 resources worth of cards is never going to be good, even if it is across 2 bodies. We've seen other iterations of cards like this in Battle Brothers, for example, and that's on no play, and neither will this. Moving into Cunning, finally, we have Screeching TIE Fighter. 1 cost, yellow, black, 2/1. On attack, you may choose a ground unit. If you do, it loses its keywords for this phase. Fantastic card. Amazing, no notes, great job, FFG. Yet another tool in Vader's arsenal. And even if you're not playing Vader, if you're playing yellow deck, you're probably going to play this. It is Imperial, so with Tarkin, it's going to be a 3/2 for 2. Same with Snoke and a lot of other experienced leaders. And the on attack is so good for an aggressive deck. You get one of the main ways to deal with Vader is to have a restore unit on the ground, like, for example, Yoda, let's say. Well, with this, you get to attack and just nullify that entirely. And on top of that, this doesn't say enemy unit, so if for some reason you have your own units that have bounties, you get to use this on them, disable the bounties. Phenomenal card, great design. We'll see a lot of play. Grand Moff Tarkin. If you've been watching this channel even a little bit, you'll know that I love Tarkin, and because of that, I am so sad that it's Cunning. Because Cunning villainy, 2/6 for 6. When played, take control of an enemy non-leader vehicle unit, and when this unit leaves play, that unit's owner takes control of that unit. This is a change of heart on a stick. only for vehicles. I guess more commandeer on a stick, which is a pretty good effect. If you are playing against any vehicle deck whatsoever, and you're playing Cunning, why wouldn't you play this? Your 2/6 is hard to deal with. 6 health is like a threshold where you'll often need to spend a bigger card or more than one card to deal with. And if you're playing this in something like a Palpatine Yellow that has been popping off lately, not only do you get to steal the unit and attack with it, then you can sacrifice it, draw a card. I think this will be a fantastic card. If anything, this might be a very prominent sideboard card against vehicle-heavy decks. Moving on, we have Grand Admiral Thrawn, another legendary, 7 cost, Cunning, Villainy, 8/7 Imperial Official. When played, an opponent may choose a non-leader unit they control. If they do, this unit captures that unit, and if they don't, ready this unit. And when defeated, a friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. Once again, another 7 cost Cunning card that captures, Cad Bane being the prime predecessor for this. Cad Bane saw a ton of play. Every single tempo-based Cunning Villainy deck plays it. And this is a great spiritual successor to it. Yes, you don't get to capture multiple small things, but you do get to capture one big thing. And if your opponent tells you no, then you get to just hit their base for 8. Both of those are great for tempo, and I think this card is going to be fantastic. If you're playing this in a yellow-blue control shell and your opponent doesn't have a unit in play, you just drop this, it comes in ready, you hit their base for 8. It is a great sense of reach and inevitability that Cunning has not had access to so far. So I think this is going to be a card that you're going to see a lot of, another one of those legendaries that you're going to want a couple of copies of at the very least as soon as you can. Next up, we have Arrest, 2 cost, Event, a Law, Cunning, Villainy. Your base captures an enemy non-leader unit. Your base captures an enemy non-leader unit. That's interesting. And at the start of the regroup phase, its owner rescues it. Okay, it is a 1-turn removal. I mean, hey, that's something that Cunning has had multiple ways of doing with, for example, Waylay or other bounce effects. No good to me. No good to me dead. And this is just yet another tool that does something similar. Just like Waylay and other bounce effects, this will remove any upgrade that's attached to it. And the fact that it's on your base means that they cannot get it back right away the same turn. At least not from what we've seen. Most of the cards that rescue units target units. There are some examples, there are some exceptions like L337. But I mean, are you going to waste a card like that when you're going to get your unit back anyways? Unlikely. So 1-turn removal, great card. Will definitely be seeing some play. We have next up Junior Senator, 2 cost, yellow-white, 3/2, Republic Official. When played, you may return an upgrade that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. Interesting. I mean, it's bamboozle on legs, so to speak, but only for a single upgrade. Temporary upgrade removal is still upgrade removal most of the time. If you do drop this and bounce their General's Blade, they're not going to be able to play it right back. That said, there is the possibility that they can. So yet another example of all of Cunning's removal being very tempo based. If you are able to leverage this into getting enough of a board presence where that resource cost that they spent on the upgrade itself is enough to hurt them, then sure, this could be good. But I think in general, this is just going to be more of a limited card, and you always want upgrade removal in limited. And last, and maybe least, we have Catch Unawares, 2 cost Cunning, attack with a unit. The defender gets -4, -0 for this attack. If you're using this, that means you don't want your opponent's unit to damage yours back. And at that point, why would you not just play Shoot First? Shoot First essentially says attack, and if you kill it, you don't take any damage back. I guess if you use this on something and don't kill it, it could be cute. But I mean, look, Shoot First saw no serious play at 1 cost. Would you pay 1 more to get a worse effect? Unlikely. Sure. Maybe when rotation passes and we no longer have access to it, you could consider this, but I think this is dead on arrival. And with that, folks, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you think I'm wrong, please let me know. I would love to fight you in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and I will see you guys next time.